Yo!
Whoa.
Yo!
I cut out early. I'm sorry.
I was waiting for it.
The one thing I'm never disappointed in is that.
Yee. Yeah, I figure we can just hang out for a while and just vibe. Soa / Liv is out doing some moving stuff, and yeah, so is not going to be able to make it today. And since they're the one who kind of led the charge in the last time, I feel like it would be completely unfair to go without them. So, hi, how's it going?
Hi,
Doing okay.
it's going good.
That's good.
Being in a mood, I am right now.
A lot of things have happened this past week. I think that, like, just across all of us and all of our industries, I think that just, in general, a lot of things have happened this week.
I think that might be I think that might be potentially why.
Yeah, we've had a lot going on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. You go ahead because your thing is probably a little bit less depressive than.
I have some exciting news that is not exactly like new reporting, but worth actually talking about. We finished recording all of season 1 of Lackadaisy since we last spoke.
Oh,
nice.
I was in the recording studio for several 8-hour days, but also that because the studio is a bit far from me, I was doing 15-hour work days.
Ouch.
So it was a lot, but oh my god, it was wonderful being able to work with those people. They were they were a blast.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I've met several of them, and they seemed very nice.
I was very surprised to see that. Oh God.
I keep forgetting to check for my emeralds. Sorry.
That one guy from Channel Awesome that I am trying to not. Malcolm, yes. I was trying to not say it the way that my brain was feeding me the information to ask it. I was very surprised to see that Malcolm was on there.
Yeah, Malcolm Ray Chambers plays as Nicodemus. He's this big, gruff Cajun boxer.
Is he the bouncer cat?
He's one of the muscle for the Marigold Hotel. It was actually kind of funny. Like I got to meet with a lot of the actors in person and stuff because I was the engineer and voice director for a lot of the performances. And like there were a select few where I got to spend a little bit more time with because I was driving everybody everywhere. But Malcolm and I really hit it off, mostly because he introduced me to vegan McDonald's, which is a thing that I didn't know existed.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that was a thing.
Is it like vegan food
LA,
at McDonald's or?
No, in LA there's this like parody McDonald's called let me figure out the name of it. It was called Mr. Charlie's. It has all the logos and branding of a McDonald's, but it's not, and all their food
I was
is
hoping
vegan.
I was hoping that it would be more like the one from Welcome to America.
I mean, but yeah, we bonded over vegan food, and I showed him off like this fidget cube I had, and he ended up trying to take it from me a couple of times.
Well, he does play the devil, so watch out.
Well, now we're all getting back to our working lives and stuff. And I think Ashley, Michael, and Ed went to some kind of convention in Atlanta right now, and that they're like doing a live honeycast with this Sunday.
Nice.
Which I hope they end up having a good time for.
Mhm.
But what are the rest of you up to?
I'm
I'm
recovering from
playing
surgery.
Minecraft.
I am wallowing in self-hatred for the day.
Well, don't do
I-
that. That's bad.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
recovering from. You want to go first, Miss Judy? Go for it. Rock it out. You've got this.
yeah,
Hi.
it's well, self-hatred might be a bit too strong of a word, but the main point is I woke up at well, you talked to me actually after I woke not long after I woke up today, Magus. Um, so I spend most of the day like in constant like okay, I'll get to work. I'll get to work.
Oh, that cycle.
And
Executive dysfunction.
and then when I do get to work, my brain starts being like, okay, shutter the eyelids. It's like no. And then I get this, and then I have to like, and this isn't his fault, but when I work with whenever I see my colleague online, Batman, my editor,
Mhm.
I get guilt when I'm not working on that stuff on Team Neighborhood because right now I've just gotten an order to start working on more cutscene or at least the prep work for the cutscenes for Dying Breed. So I have to do the animatic, and I was and despite having figured out like okay now I know like at least somewhat what I want with the animatic the other day, I was like ready. Okay, I'm ready. Go on, brain.
Mhm.
And I was just like staring there with like Adobe Anima, Adobe Animate, I think. Yeah, in front of me, just wanting to do, and it was essentially a big old SpongeBob. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm doing it, and it was just the.
Excellent.
Um,
Mhm.
so
Ouch.
I really hate it when I have days like that because and even the bit of stuff that I wanted to do for Team Neighborhood when Batman was on that I wanted to cover, I didn't cover nearly as much as I wanted. So it's like
Mhm.
perpetual guilt trip is the name of the day today. I feel mega guilty when I have days like that.
I understand completely.
And don't get me wrong, I like being relaxed. I don't like. I know that this is my brain being fucking mean to me. But it doesn't change the fact that I have to do work, and
Yes.
it makes me feel. How should I put it? Like I am completely inept at being able to do even the job that I am qualified to do.
Man, I know that feeling. I had a brief period where I finished the Lackadaisy work. I get home and my brain's like, "Oh no, you don't have enough money to live. Why aren't you doing enough work?" And then the nice thing is there comes a period where you've been working long enough where another voice comes in, slaps the hand of the one that was trying to say that, hands him a coloring book and say, "Motherfucker, you just worked for 60 hours straight and have done absolutely nothing else, and you have 2 other jobs that you were lagging behind on because of the first job. You're fine."
I
think
find. Sorry, good.
Yeah, I just want to say I don't think I've managed to quite get there. Like, don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, I've had periods where I definitely was I can like just once I get into the flow where it's like it's just going, and it's like, okay, this is good. But getting that flowing is complete nonsense. Also,
finding a flow state is very difficult.
And also, yeah, I posted in the New World D&D. That is pretty much what it feels like. what it felt like today.
So, for me, pre-words work. Do you have ADHD, or at least that you know of? I'm curious.
I am.
No, you don't have to answer, of course.
I am highly suspicious of it. That I do.
Because that's sort of a
ADHD coming in, stealing my jobs, and sleeping with my wife.
Imagine a content creator who doesn't have ADHD. I can't. But
yeah, that's a fake idea.
I don't. Like I've done the tests and they all come back inconclusive.
Oh god.
Which certainly doesn't help.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I once had a period where I was in like Costa Rica on an internship, thanks to a contact of my sister's, who was kind enough to set it up for me. It was a very unique experience, and I was glad for it. But it should tell you something about how broken my brain is, for the following reasons. I was at essentially a professional company. They do ads. They do very good looking ads. They were one of the best in that country, at least. And they deal with, they get contract work from American companies and everything. So, professionals all around. The head of that studio, he watched all four, at least on lunch breaks, when he was a very kind man, very kind. We watched during lunches. We watched the episodes wherever he could find the time, and he complimented me very much so that it was very professional level animation, despite the jankiness and everything. And yet my brain still, and the fact that I still have the three college the three college students story, and yet my brain still insists on being what it is.
See, that's why you got to get into the habit of saying to yourself, why is it that your brain is than the guy has been objectively working in this field longer than you have? If he says you good, you might be good.
You might be good, yeah.
That seems reasonable, yeah.
I think it's because. Sorry, you go.
I will say for me, I mean, sometimes saying you're good isn't enough to make you feel good, especially when it comes down to executive dysfunction. I know that's my knee-jerk reaction too. It's like, no, bro, you're beautiful, you got this. But at the same time, that doesn't actually help you get this. But what I wanted to say is that for me, with my ADHD brain, sometimes pre-words do work. That is to say, doing something to give yourself the dopamine and serotonin that you need to jumpstart your ability to do work. So sitting down and scrolling TikTok or playing a video game for 5 minutes, but intentionally and specifically, making it a short session of it, and then go keep that momentum of your brain into your project. I find that can work for me, even if it's just playing a JRPG and doing a couple of battles, then setting it down and going back to work.
Yeah, I've got Civilization 5 on the side while I do sound design work.
I usually just have a video on. Honestly, if I sit down to play a game, it can't be for 5 minutes. I'm not one of those. It's like I can't nap. I sleep.
Oh, I get that, but at the same time, you could pick games that are low bandwidth.
Yeah.
Like there's tons of them out there where like you could poke a little
honestly,
bit at a time.
honestly,
and then
I
stop.
do have
I
that.
can recommend several.
I mean, I kind of have that in the form of like Helldivers. Well, granted, with Helldivers, it's a bit.
Helldivers is a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a time commitment.
It's more high focus, but it's not like deep focus.
Yeah.
The thing is with Helldivers, it's like it's the kind of game where it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this before work. I'm gonna do like one operation, then I'm gonna start work, like one whole operation.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to set a tangible and measurable goal that you can cut yourself off at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it works, but then I have like days like this where it's like, okay, I'll start it. Actually, what didn't help is the fact that I had like a heavy lunch, so it made me eepy.
Mm-hmm.
So to combat that, I intentionally just like I wanted to work afterwards, but I was feeling so full that I just couldn't concentrate. I really hate that feeling. It's just the fact, as far as like my general confidence level is, it doesn't help that like I have like two things that I feel like should be telling me that I should be safe. I should be safe. I should be good. I'm good. And that's, or at least not, that I'm lacking these two things, in my personal opinion. One, personal credit, and a personal professional expertise with the tool.
Mm-hmm.
That's an industry standard, like at least Blender, so that I could just apply to places where it's like, hey, you need someone that can do stuff, animate maybe, and I'm not at the. I don't think I'm at the point where I'm like, even with the Patreon self-sustaining, essentially. I mean, I should technically be good on my end, but it's like minimum wage good.
I feel like that's been the way for a lot of us in the creative field.
Mm-hmm.
I'm well below that still.
Well, it's the thing is, it's like I'd be a little bit more confident if I was willing to stay at my folks' home for a couple of more years, but it's like I think mentally I need to leave. For my
That's
own,
valid.
Even the psychiatrist that I've seen, the overall little time that I've seen him with, said I need to get a job and I need to get away from my parents.
Yeah, man.
And,
I would not be able to do the work that I do if I still lived with my folks.
Yes.
No disrespect to them. I have an extremely good relationship with my family, but the nature of my work is not something that they fully comprehend.
The shrink even said, and I agree with this, even if you have a good relationship with your folks, it'll only make it better to move out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And honestly, here's the thing. I've had this as an option for years. But it wouldn't have felt right to move up there and not at least be able to cover the food myself.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Power imbalance and power dynamics are, well, I mean, they are an important aspect of any relationship at all, right?
Yeah.
And if you are living under somebody else's roof, then they have an inherent power over you, just purely by the nature of the living situation. So they,
technically speaking, they would still have that power because.
But it is a lot different.
It expresses itself differently when they don't have when they're not right next to you all the time.
Yeah, it's also just not hearing them shout at each other.
Yeah, that seems nice.
Don't get me wrong, I am not a stranger to like getting angry and shouting. Megas can attest.
Mhm.
My editor and me are essentially like an old married couple.
They
Yeah.
really are.
Everyone refers to us like that knows us.
Just to pivot the conversation slightly, some strange
Yeah.
person in chat named Liv the Cyberdoll, no idea who that could be,
Never heard of them.
Yes, all sorts of strangers.
asks when we're doing an all Gripply campaign.
An all grip.
After I get all of us
I mean, we
killed.
could always try an all Kobold campaign. I would love at some point to build like. I'd love to build like a campaign where like the players try to deal with a something along the lines of Clutch's lair, where the traps are like really well built.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Like super ornate.
No, it's more of that, like, I've got my hands on a couple of books of, like, really clever and really cruel traps that I haven't gotten to use yet. It has been a really good time. It's been fun to read it, but I've also, like, I also love having the opportunity to engage people in games that have come out that are off the beaten path a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
If only to try and get some games in my library a little bit more exposure and love.
Yeah, and like I've made no secret that I'm not the biggest fan of Pathfinder, but although I adore this campaign, the system is the one thing I don't love about it.
For me, for the Kobold thing, I literally made a Kobold at one point who was meant for he was not meant to be a survive, but he somehow thrived for a one shot. I called him Boom Boom.
I wonder where he got the namesake from.
I literally I'm trying to remember the voice. I went. I think it was something like this. You ate boat. Boom Boom. He talked like this the whole time, and I didn't mind talking like it. But I was always worried that Boom Boom be very annoying.
You know, I will say that, like, I have fond memories of the last campaign that I took part in with Dictator was one that I was running that was a supervillain campaign.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned about it once or twice before, but, like,
Yeah.
I think the most fun of that game was just Dictator's character getting their just desserts every session.
I will say though that kind of character voice can be difficult to keep engaging in a longer campaign though. There's ways to do it and pull it off, but
Yeah.
that can be difficult to do long term.
I know this was a one shot, so I was like.
Oh yeah, by all means, go ham then.
I was being excessive with him. Somehow, not. Well, actually, I'll first continue on with what Megas said, but I just wanted to finish. What I love, it was essentially a 10,000 wands kind of thing where we just didn't know what a wand does until we did it. Somehow, Boom Boom not only made a chicken into a deity, it could one tap us if it wanted to.
That happens sometimes.
But, he
Sometimes
also
you just have to make it a chicken god.
Yeah.
And I even pushed. This was completely out of my range because normally I care about my character's survival, and the worst part is I still cared about Boom Boom's survival, despite literally making him a character that he literally had a robe of fire resistance. I made him look like he has a constant fireproof robe on him, and he picked up that chicken and just plopped it on his head. I even did a drawing of it.
I think my favorite drawing that you ever did was that one comic that we had where you guys had to break into this armory or something like that. And someone's like, oh, I have illusion magic. I'm going to make it so that anything that you do is going to sound like something else. And there's a caveat in that illusion magic where it does not control the volume of said noises. So at one point, Dictator attacks a guy, or he ends up attacking a guy on an outpost who the stealth roll doesn't go well, and the guy starts screaming and opening fire, and whoever was doing the illusion magic was trying to make all the sounds sound like birds. So there's this one, there was one bird that was making this, that had the volume of a 50 caliber sniper rifle.
That's amazing, actually.
And one of the guards was like, "That's a really loud bird. Oh my god."
Also, from that very same location, do not let your kobold-esque minions drive the spaceship and shoot at it when they have no exclusive.
At some point, Dictator had an army, a literal army of kobolds that they were actually like genetic gator people that we called fomadiles because they're not like real crocodiles. Yeah. He started with 60 of them, and by session 3 he had 12.
Oh no!
This man was a tactician.
He was a tactician from World War I, to be specific. To be very clear about this character, he started off. I mean, he was a necromancer, so his general idea was, he summons kept resummoning like three of his minions, undead minions, constantly to do the work of him, for him. That was his job. He was used to body counts. And the reason why he lost so many, the 60, is because of a side adventure.
Yeah, the one where you pissed off a robotics expert and had all of your guys run face first into turret emplacements and then wondered why things were going badly.
Granted, I did try figuring things out before the attack. I just fucked up in terms of the idea of like, I could have asked.
The risk I took was calculated, but man, am I bad at math.
Yeah. You want to know the funniest part? About that whole adventure? I animated it.
Nice.
We do have an animation of that somewhere. It's an animatic, but it's still pretty solid.
Yeah, it's I was like, you know what? This felt like this because he sacrificed those fomadiles because that guy had something. It was the main reason he was there. He was not gonna let anything stand in between him and getting that item, which was a family heirloom that was taken from his family estate. Which, by the way, due to the fact that I was playing a villain, but because, I'm gonna be honest, I tried changing him so that he was like less of a dick to one of the other characters, at least. I made him even more of a sociopath because I essentially ended up explaining, okay, the reason why he started at level 1 was because he kept himself isolated for like 60 years. With nobody but himself and his like necromantic minions to keep him company. Oh yeah, and he was also a bit of a serial killer, but he killed KGB agents.
I mean, that's being in military, but you know.
Yeah.
I have a love of characters that operate on different ethical frameworks from other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've mentioned this before. Like, a kobold who doesn't understand the idea of like money at all, or just the idea of why you would hurt some people and not other people, because these people are stopping our way into the city, but the last people who stopped our way on the path, we killed them all. It's like, no, Kawasaki, those are guards. The ones before were highwaymen. Well, so they're both trying to stop
What's
us.
the difference? They got weapons and armor.
Yeah.
It's like that, just a completely different ethical framework. Or recently with Sprig, where I played a Fae character who was like actually high Fae, as in completely did not understand or conceptualize what humanity was, and was just genuinely struggling with it. And that was a fun character. I like that character a lot. And that's part of, how I built this campaign, was a whole bunch of different ethical frameworks. All the cultures you've met have had completely different outlooks on the world, right? Oh, I like things like that.
Yeah, no, that's... Yeah, okay, I think I might have actually found it.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Oh, fuck. Let me see if I can find it with the
I
subtitle.
tend to enjoy, like, imposing a sort of... a lot of the time when I'm making characters for, like, RPGs and stuff, just since we're on that vein of conversation,
Yeah.
I like challenging myself to build a weird, like, challenge to what I'm doing mechanically, and have a character that logically... this is, like, just the way that they live.
Yeah, the
I
thing is...
I enjoy marrying the mechanics to the role-playing in my characters. I guess is the way that I want to say it.
Ludonarrative.
And then making the mechanics really bad.
The thing was, with this character, like I said, he was a villain. Like, just to be very clear, he never really assaulted any of his teammates or anything.
That is...
But he was insulted.
That is incorrect. I'm sorry.
Okay, at one point did I actually attack them? The worst I ever...
The thing is that you have to understand, there is a key difference between willfully attacking your teammates and putting them in situations where they will die. And you frequently did the latter.
Hold on.
Subtle but important distinctions.
Hold on.
That's legal,
Hold
though.
on. No, I refuse to think that. Every single... just as a player, I just want to be very clear as a player, as a thing here. I rarely play completely reckless characters. I always try to plan something. Things ending up going
in all
badly...
fairness, you were not trying to do that on purpose.
Thank
But
you.
much of your decision-making made life much harder for that party, to the point that the party had to kill you to get you to stop.
And then I made a suicide bomber character.
I see.
So,
Anyways.
He could also duplicate himself. Okay, to be very clear, I was in a...
It was an adjustment period for it was an adjustment period for you. You were still learning about like doing these kinds of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just
like
I
you have to understand, this was the kind of guy back in the day when Dictator was like the leader of the party, for lack of a better term, and was like, all right, you guys are the most wanted people in this town. You're gonna have to get your way across town. What are you gonna do? It's like, well, what I'm gonna do is I see a police officer at that checkpoint. I'm going to walk up to him, and I'm going to use my charisma check to do the thing. And I go, okay. And he goes, hello, good officer. Mind if I... And then the cop turns around, looks at the man dressed as a German officer from World War I, and said, holy shit, it's the Nazi from TV, and shoots him.
Yeah, you see...
Reasonable reaction.
I think when I originally approached him, I thought that it wasn't as widespread at that point, but
It was on public television
mm,
in like early 2000s when people watched television.
But I did want to say that this
I don't know what I was thinking. I can't recall the dusty files of what my logic was at the time.
Anyway, what were you saying, Jade?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to mention that this campaign is not a forever campaign. The writing and plans I have for this campaign, you guys have actually accomplished a majority of. There's certainly a lot more threads to work through, and but this campaign is not going to go as long as you might be thinking it is. And when it's done, I would love to keep this group going. I'm very much enjoying this group. I can either DM or someone else can, and I can play. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that because yeah.
I'm trying to find it. I don't think I can find it with the subtitles because I definitely remember having a version with subtitles.
I'll definitely warn you that if I DM again, I'm running 4th edition, and you cannot stop me.
Oh no!
Yeah, here.
Oh, they exploded. Hey, welcome back.
Oh, right. Discord is acting really, really stupid, where it's not letting me screen share if I'm not using the browser version of it. Hold on, let me switch us now.
Weird.
Discord. Really nice of you.
Yeah, I just wanted to float that
The screen
idea out
share
there.
in general breaks stuff a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Especially with me.
Chrono Trigger, the original Steam release of Chrono Trigger, will not stream on Steam on Discord.
Oh, that sucks.
It just crashes if you try to do it.
Weird.
I have some challenges with them for the Sam & Max point and click adventure game, among other things, where it's just very challenging to get it to stream. One that was one that's virtually unplayable from the Steam version was Escape from Monkey Island, the PS2 game.
Oh yes, that was a nightmare.
Yeah,
wait,
I really want to Escape from Monkey Island. I really want to play that with a friend of mine. Unfortunately, the way that it's built, the game engine just is not Steam friendly, even with an emulator.
Yeah, it's not like Lost Media levels, but it is definitely it is exceedingly difficult to make it work on a modern system.
Did I just never hear about the PS2 game? What?
I mean, in all fairness, the PS2 game is not very good. I enjoy it, but I also acknowledge that it's not. It has quite possibly the worst puzzles in the Monkey Island franchise.
Wait, isn't this just
Which, admittedly,
Monkey
is a
Island
fairly
4?
high bar.
Isn't this just Monkey Island 4?
Yeah.
Nope. No. There's Return to Monkey Island, which is technically Monkey Island 4.
Oh, so this is a different one. Okay.
Yeah, this was one that was exclusively on PS2.
Okay, yeah, I've never heard of this.
So get this, I would like to walk you through the worst Monkey Island puzzle I have ever had to force myself
Please.
through. Give me a second. I need to remind myself. Okay.
This cinematic's 4 minutes
long.
All right. I love making them long, don't I?
So in order for you to break into in order for you to get access to a very special room, you have to go to a place called the Palace of Prosthesis and order a very special kind of prosthesis. However, you cannot just order the special prosthesis item that you're looking for. You have to tell them a story so that the guy who has 2 eye patches and to give you the right piece. So you go through this lengthy storyline to get them to give you various pieces of objects, where they don't tell you if these items will actually be useful. So you can get, by telling these stories incorrectly, 2 peg legs, a prosthesis hook, a prosthesis arm, I believe a pumpkin, I believe like I might not be remembering this properly, a prosthesis like liver or something like that. And finally, the correct thing that you need to get, prosthesis skin. Now, you think, well, what do I do with all these prosthesis items? Well, you could combine them all and create your own tiny pirate, which does nothing. It's just funny.
Excellent. I approve of this.
What you do is you go outside the prosthesis plate, the Palace of Prosthesis. You then stretch the prosthesis skin over over a manhole where there's not many indications of you having to be able to open up. Jump on the prosthesis skin like a trampoline to get inside the base, inside the place that you're looking for. And then get a bunch of bullshit items so that you could then go through an infinitely repeating swamp where you have to talk to yourself and express the exact conversation that he gives you. For if you fuck up at any point during that, you hit a time paradox and have to do the whole thing over again.
Wow.
Snake.
Now, if I recall correctly, can you save it anywhere in this game or no? Remind me.
I believe they have autosave.
Oh.
Or like the save is like only in certain areas. Like it,
Mhm.
I don't remember there being a good save system. It's not a game you could save scum.
Yeah.
Acme aesthetic prohibition. Proboscis. Also, speaking of prosthesis, character that probably needs them a lot. Just want to finish like the story about that particular character. That was like I really liked playing Bone Kaiser, and I was very sad when he died, when I lost him. But I wasn't gonna force Magus to allow me to keep him somehow. That would be too dickish.
No, let's hang on. I gave you a couple of chances for you to keep him.
No,
There was that time you Let's see.
know.
There was the time you got shot by the cop. There was the time that you got obliterated by one of the super villains that I built specifically as counters to each of the players, so to up the stakes a little bit. Which I think I don't know which one of those was my favorite, but I did love the one where like it was like the opposite of Deadbrain's character Edgelord, where his name was Count Blunt, and he was like the anti-Edgelord, where he goes, what's your favorite?
Super nice.
He was super nice and was like a kinetic counter attacker. And he's like, "What's your favorite anime?" Mine.
I think he
Basket.
baked. I think he baked stuff. I think he baked stuff for the TV host.
He did. It was great. Anyway, there was the time that you got blasted by a laser cannon, and you should have died, but then you possessed one of those Fomadiles and became Faux Kaiser, the tiny crocodile Kobold Bone Kaiser.
That's
what I meant. Yeah, and then the party killed you.
Like said, that's what I meant. It would have been unfair of me to ask that of you like that bluntly, because I'm aware that you've given me that, so I just like, okay, I'll make a new character then. And because that character was like, yet again, I played him like an asshole villain. It was, well, okay, to be fair, he was primarily like very insulting towards one party member specifically. I made this character a mute. Silent but deadly, don't you know?
Just did not want to risk. You did not want to risk putting your foot in your mouth.
I just felt like I was not behaving as good as I could as a player, because I just, plus I like mute characters that communicate through pantomime, and a character that can duplicate himself 2 or 3 times has more hands to mimic to try to do gestures with.
I had a lot of fun with Piffle too. Just to speak of like playing mute characters.
Plus there's something that. Plus, I feel like there's something innately much more threatening about a character that has, that gimmick, but he never talks. Actually, here, let me see. Before I play this, let me see if I can. Let me open up. Oh yeah, this was his introduction. This was his introduction. Note, the environment is meant to be like in a shipping container that we used as a hideout. Not shipping container, a shipping ship. You know what I mean. A container ship. Cargo ship, yeah, that we were using as a hideout.
I'm trying to remember if like that place survived at the end of that game. Where'd you send it to?
Oh, hang on, we gotta.
Oh, shit! I
feel like that happened at the worst moment to distract everyone from the punchline.
You can thank Assassino.
Yay!
Thank you, Assassino.
Actually, can you hear the sound? Because this one actually does have a bit of sound.
Is this thing that you made?
No, it's music.
I'd rather you not play other people's music or creations when on,
It's technically stock music. It's just for a
yeah, but you have to understand, dude. Like, even if it's stock music, it'll get flagged.
Okay, so just to sum
it's
it
also
up,
just kind of impolite because this is our place for making stuff as opposed to our place to showcase other people making stuff.
That's fair. This is to be fair, this is like a private thing that I made for.
No.
And yeah.
I'll link it around Discords afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just that intense SpongeBob music, like when Sandy's like about to hibernate and they're doing
intense SpongeBob music. That is
a funny sentence.
I just want to see those line notes in a script.
Honestly, since it's SpongeBob, that does actually narrow it down significantly. I would personally say, because it's pretty much the music of when Sandy has to hibernate, so she's dragging him through hell as she's doing all this extreme stuff, and then it like does like a little quack sound when he. This is how he introduces himself. He just has like a singed card that just says hello.
I've never seen SpongeBob.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that because I'm so used to everyone just having seen it.
Yeah, because I'm like the one person who hasn't, right?
I haven't really watched it either.
My Polish
I've got cultural osmosis from the memes, but that's about it.
I feel like I've watched a season and a half just by memes.
My Polish friend has the same thing. Anyway, so yeah, he gives him the card, and then he just like walks by, and then the clones walk by too.
See, a big thing about SpongeBob is that a lot of people think of it kind of like how they think of like Family Guy or Simpsons, where they're like, oh, it just got really popular and nobody really knows why that it got popular. But the thing is that when Steven Hillenburg worked on, when he first made that show, the first 3 seasons are some of the best comedy work that Nickelodeon's ever produced. If you watch the first 3 seasons and then the SpongeBob movie, that's it. That's all you need. Because almost every single episode is one of those kinds of household name episodes where they're like, oh, there's a lot of good stuff in here. Like, the reason why there's so many SpongeBob memes is a lot of them are from those early seasons.
Mm-hmm.
They have occasional...
Like early Simpsons?
That's what I was thinking too,
Like, they have occasional good jokes and all that stuff, but the big problem is that, you know, SpongeBob fell to seasonal rot, and that happens with any good show. It's very rare for a show to maintain itself long after its shelf life. Like, even Steven Hillenburg was like, I wanted to stop making this after like 60 episodes, which is a fair thing to want. But,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, Nickelodeon basically said it was too big to fail, or rather, it was too big to stop making.
Yeah.
Which is really wonky when you think about, like, I am a firm proponent of let a thing reach its end and then end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm always a proponent of, like, just have a nice end point.
And in general, that's the kind of media I prefer to consume. You know, I would rather watch a series that has like 2 or 3 seasons that are actually planned to be 2 or 3 seasons with a final arc, as opposed to one that is designed to go into in perpetuity. And
yeah, agreed.
And I will say, like, sometimes it's easy to forget seasonal rot when a exists when a show is canceled too early.
I think, I also think most shows do not make it past. I think the average most is 4 seasons, which is usually like fairly okay. I think most people would be fine with that, but very rarely do shows go on to, especially animated shows, to things like season 10.
Like, one example that I tend to think of is, I mean, everyone loves Firefly, right? Everyone saw, you know, what was made of Firefly and said this is the best thing in the world, why they cancel it, right? That was just the general consensus for a long time.
Yeah, for a long time.
Yeah.
And, like, I just think of that, and then I look at Farscape as a almost one-to-one comparison of a show that had a really solid first half of first season, and frankly, a solid first season, that just no one thinks about because it dropped to seasonal rot like pretty faster than it should have, I guess. But at the same time, like, it's a very fair comparison between that and Firefly, just because of the nature of the show's creators, and the way that it was written. And I don't know, that's just my 2 cents on that front. It's just it'll happen to every show, and
yeah. There's an episode that I think about a lot. Given that I work very frequently in the animation field, and I see both on the side of post-production and pre-production, since I've tried pitching shows and I've worked on a bunch of them. There's one episode of Family Guy. Hear me out.
I'm listening.
There's one episode of Family Guy that I think about a lot, because it is such a good dressing down of how personally eviscerating the industry can be, without it being like actively malicious. There's this level of cynicism that the demographic and the chart demands, that makes Hollywood appear like it is this. That it makes Hollywood sometimes appear intentionally and needlessly cruel. And while that does happen, there's an episode of Family Guy that spells out how sometimes it just happens. So there's an episode called Brian Griffin's House of Pain.
Okay.
I'm not sure if any of you here have actually watched Family Guy, but
not for a long time.
Brian Griffin writes a screenplay for a drama, and it's about a daughter and her father going to the same college. But it's a drama about the father finding humility by going back to college even though he's gotten later. And it's so good that that Lois ends up reading it and she's like crying, like, this is amazing. You need to sell this. And everybody else around Brian is like, this is incredible. This is fantastic. And Brian eventually like starts shopping it around, and some people are like trying to make some concessions and stuff, and eventually it gets picked up by CBS. And CBS says, all right, we've got it, but there's a lot of things here that just don't work. And Brian's like, well, we can make some changes, like we can make some adaptations to make sure that it goes well and stuff. And it starts getting more and more concessions, where originally it was called What I Learned on Jefferson Street, as like this very serious drama. And in his attempt to try and maintain keeping it alive and keeping it going, he has to take more and more and more concessions until it eventually becomes it goes from being a drama called What I Learned on Jefferson Street to a situational comedy starring James Woods called Class Holes. And they watch the first episode, and when the episode finishes, and it's awful. It is like the worst dregs that you would imagine on a CBS daytime situational comedy. And when the episode finishes, everyone stops. All of Brian's family members, all of his friends who had read the original script and were extremely supportive of him, they turn around and look at Brian with an expression of, how could you have done this to your work?
Ouch. Mean.
Yeah, I remember that episode.
It's one of those few moments of like Family Guy, like really like elevating itself beyond like the medium that it already started as, of just being like a simple like being just a situational comedy like The Simpsons.
Yeah,
but I always felt like what I always felt like with the difference between like The Simpsons and Family Guy is The Simpsons understood characters and was willing to have deep and thought-provoking moments and commentary, whereas Family Guy just wants to have fun. But they're not beyond having those hard-hitting moments. And I always think about that, especially when I've seen so many productions get chewed up in that same light, because you end up having to make concessions to make the show survive. Like I think very frequently about Ralph Bakshi's Cool World. Have you ever heard of that movie?
Yeah.
It's a bad movie.
No.
Yeah.
So,
but
Cool
it's
World
visually
about, like,
cool.
It's
Cool
really
World is about
visually
like
interesting.
this real world guy who goes to this cartoon world, and it's very dark and very edgy and very much Ralph Bakshi's kind of style of animation, where they got the animated characters with the boobies and the guns, and the guys talking about having the blowjobs and stuff.
Yeah.
Because when you think the cartoons, you think about you gotta be like Stan Lee over here being like, what if we added the boobies to the Pamela Anderson? Anyway,
That's a
but
real
then you
thing,
hear
by
the
way.
premise of what that cartoon was, of what that movie was originally going to be about, and every single person that I tell this to says, why did they change it? And the big reason was because they wanted it to be more appealing to children, and they thought the idea was too dark. Because they say you can't have a cartoon about, you cannot have a cartoon talk about adult themes, because this was back during a time when all the studios in America refused to accept that animation could be for anything other than children. The premise of Cool World was originally, what if a cartoon and a human had a child, and that child was a serial killer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of juggling the balance between that cartoony nature that's very glib about violence and slapstick and all that stuff, but also the torn aspects of experiencing emotions very much like humans do.
Yeah.
I know an artist that actually played around with the idea of what like the hierarchy of needs a cartoon would have. Whereas with humans, it's like, being fed, shelter, finding a job, finding self-actualization. Whereas like with cartoons, it's stuff like getting an audience, having an archetype, getting seen, etc., etc.
Mood.
Real quick, I had a commercial redeem in my chat, so for the non-subs, I'll see you in just a short 30 seconds. I'll push the button now. Bye-bye!
You'll find it on YouTube, don't worry about it.
It's funny, I actually recently, I didn't investigate it. I should have linked it when I saw it, because it was on Twitter, so it's long gone. There's apparently like a tabletop game recently, it's RPG, of course, that's about toons, and it looked like it was, like they were very violent, with very violent intentions. And of course, yet again, of course, now I I didn't remember the name. I just remembered like the art. They were like on a vehicle. One was like a rabbit wielding an axe. There was lots of bats around it. It was red.
Happy Tree Friends.
No, no, it looked like toon characters, aka like rubber hose style, like that kind.
Okay.
But more violent. I saw it recently, but I forgot what the name was. But yeah, like I think every time I think to myself, like, how the hell do so many of these things get made when they're so like complicated and expensive? Like whenever I see how many cartoons and movies are out there, how the hell does any of this get funded at all? It feels like there should be like a quarter of what there is.
Oh, if we're talking about publishers, is it time to start talking about... Are we going to start talking about Tango now? Because I got opinions.
Please, let's not.
I mentioned it yesterday too. It was like the most tone-deaf announcement ever that like the day after
God,
this.
yeah. Fuck.
I want to.
Tango hurts so much.
Listen, I haven't even played Hi-Fi Rush yet I know that was fun. By the way, I want to, but it's one of those things. I haven't even seen a Let's Play of it because I want to be surprised. But my point is, I saw that, and I immediately felt love in every fucking part of that game since the first fucking 5
Yeah.
minutes.
Oh yeah. No, it's a work of like
passion.
I haven't played it either, but it just looks amazing. It looks like the people who made it really loved making it.
I've played it end to end, and there were so many reasons why that game should have failed. And I am so happy that it didn't. It had no advertising. It was competing against Forspoken, a AAA release at the time. It was a Bethesda title, which gave it no attention whatsoever. It was an Xbox Live Game Pass game on first day release. And it had and it also had a licensed soundtrack, which is oftentimes in modern day games a death sentence.
Yeah.
Because it can't be streamed or YouTubed and stuff.
Yep.
And when the license expires, you have a minefield.
They had an audit. They had a streamer mode available for it, and the music for the streamer mode was as good as the licensed music.
Oh, nice!
That's incredible. That is
Which
attention
is
to detail.
Impossible for me to think about.
I'm just trying to think of the You know what was even more insulting? The lady that I saw today that was interviewed, and the interviewer posed a really, really solid question, and she gave such a non-answer. She could have just said a slur, and it would have been better.
Let me back up for a second here, just to recap for everyone who's in the chats. Hi-Fi Rush is amazing. It's a wonderful game that was made as a project of passion from a studio that had mostly focused on other styles of genres. They said, you know what, this is what we want to make. Let us make this. And the studio said, okay. And the studio, when the game was done, closed the deals with the studio, basically fired the studio, because the actual reason, Veer, this is actually industry reason, because they were looking through all the studios and closing down studios that were not in the middle of a project that was going to be released within the next couple of years. They had a job that was finished, therefore they were not on the list of studios that had upcoming project releases. And that's part of why it happened. It's no excuse, not even close to one. But
No.
Yeah, that's a really bad reason.
It is, but like you can see how that work looks on a spreadsheet though, right? Like
Yeah.
Someone made the comment because having that woman say, so even if a studio does well, their games sell well, she had to make that non-answer because the alternative, her saying that directly, would have made it sound insane. And it's like, yet again, no, she was in a situation where if she had to answer, and even with the slightest bit of, she could have just said, "I do not wish to comment," and it would have been better than what she gave.
And to cement, go ahead.
I have a really dumb quote, but it comes to mind for this situation at least. Is people who say no pun intended are weaklings. Intend your puns, cowards.
Yeah.
Anyway.
If you're gonna say something insane, stick to it. Commit to your guns.
Yeah.
Words I live by. Anyway, to cement to the people who have not been paying attention to this whole thing, of just how utterly divorced from reality this is, in terms of their decision making. And I'll go into further explanation about the portfolio thing, because I've been talking about this with Jade for like about 2 years now after the whole Infinity Train fiasco, which I feel runs parallel with this.
Yeah.
This is a game that had one of the smallest budgets that Tango Gameworks has ever had. It had, it was an indie project that had no long-term commitments in terms of DLC or live service aspects. It was a single-player game that you could finish in 6 hours, and yet, despite the fact that it was a game that was so small and was on Game Pass and had no advertising, it sold better than Forspoken, even with the idea that the Game Pass made it so that a lot of people that were playing it for free. This game even had the vice president of Microsoft go out of his way to say, this was one of our biggest successes and we need more like this.
Yep.
They got
we need more games like
Game
that.
Awards, 3 Game Award nominations, including Best Action Game. And one best audio design. And for some reason didn't get best soundtrack, but they gave it to Final Fantasy because Final Fantasy needed a win of some kind.
The Final Fantasy soundtrack's amazing. I'm not gonna deny them that, but yeah.
I personally would have taken it back from Final Fantasy and given it to Hi-Fi Rush. I do not believe that game deserves. I'm sure it's a great soundtrack. I think I told it to someone. I am definitely sure it's an amazing soundtrack.
Look, the soundtrack
not as good as Hi-Fi Rush though.
The soundtrack for, I mean, one of the problems with soundtrack things is that oftentimes they will give it demerits for having it be licensed music. But hear me out on this. Final Fantasy XVI's orchestral score is gorgeous. It's very beautiful and very, very orally arresting. However, I could not tell you a single moment in that game where I remembered any of the music being played because of the sweeping orchestra going from end to end. Meanwhile, in Hi-Fi Rush, not only is the original music good on its own, but the licensed music was specifically hand-tailored to be at the beat of every single thing going on screen at the moment, to have sound design work seamlessly with the music. And there's not a single goddamn moment in that game that I don't remember clearly of its music going nuts.
There's something to say. There's something to be said about using licensed music correctly. You know what I just need to finish. Sorry, Jade.
Okay. Sorry.
Like, the beginning of GTA 4 introduced me to a song that I never heard of before, and it's so fitting to the fucking mood of that game. The Tony Hawk games, like, they got licensed music, and it's some of the most fitting things that will take you back to a time that you didn't think it was possible, because those tracks are like so significant to that era. Like, a well curated list of songs is as important as a original soundtrack, I would say.
Yeah.
There are
thing, Jade. Then I want to add to that.
There are several pitfalls with using licensed music, and I think that they do deserve to be talked about and dispassionately, if possible. And that is, from the publisher's standpoint, is that if you're making a game with licensed music, most game sales occur within the first 3 months of the product being launched, and after the first year, the sales dry up. If you're licensing music, how long are you licensing it for? Usually, it's going to be a 5-year license. And for something of this nature, if you have a 5-year license and that 5-year license runs out, you pull your game. Because you're not going to be getting that much more sales. You've made your sales. You're not going to spend the time and hours to patch out all the music in the game, so the game becomes lost media. If you are against lost media, then there is a conflict of interest with wanting to have licensed music tracks, just inherently. And that's partially because of the pay-for-service and platforming of games right now, but it's the same discussion, but it's slightly different, you know what I mean? But there's that, and then there's the streaming thing, because we all know that streaming can take a game from obscurity to extreme popularity. And if you are playing the quote-unquote stream-safe version of the game, then there is a mentality that you are playing the version of the lesser version of the game. That's not true, but it can feel that way. Why aren't you playing the one with the songs from XYZ? Like, there is a natural concern. It's like I'm not listening to, as the viewer, the best version that this game has to offer, because I should be listening to the licensed, but people are not going to stream it licensed because, well, obvious. So there are pitfalls that are valid. That said, that doesn't diminish the quality of the game, but there are valid concerns. That's all I wanted to say.
To go off of what I was going to say in terms of
please.
What you were saying about licensing and the pitfalls of that. Yes, that is definitely one thing about this. Hear me out, though. Hear me out one aspect of this that will make you go from being like, well, I can understand it because it's licensed, so that's kind of cheating, to, with respect, fuck Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
So get this.
Yeah.
It would have made sense if it was just them taking the original songs for their licensed music and then just leaving it as is. They just plop it in there and have it all going there. But here's the thing. You cannot put licensed music to dynamic audio and expect it to stay in time. So what they did was they took the songs and their original stems, broke it apart, extrapolated on it, added their own music to the original music, and put it back in so that it was dynamically adaptive to the music that was happening.
That's amazing. Wow, I did not know that.
So my first instinct of taking that award from Final Fantasy and giving it back to Hi-Fi Rush was more or less completely justified.
Like, it's one thing to do it's one thing to have like a fade in, fade out from like PlayStation 2 aggressive inline real big fish thing. It's another thing to take the Prodigy's All Intruders Must Die and manage to make that song maintain its presence and its weight for a 30-minute sequence for a song that is less than 6. Without it ever feeling like it's getting old. Sorry, I am foaming at the mouth over this. This is inconsolable that I lost this game in my life.
Listen, this is absolutely like, I can rave about this stuff all day. Like, it's just the amount of studios we've lost because, like, I feel like at no point in the industry has it ever been like, usually in the past it felt like, okay, if a studio fails, it's because it was purely finance. Like they had like multiple bad games in a row, and it's like it drained them. Okay, that's fair. But nowadays, it literally just feels like they're just closing them for fun now.
Investors win.
Like it feels like lottery.
Which brings me to the portfolio discussion.
Mm-hmm.
I can explain to you what's happening. So, regrettably, this is not the result of any one executive deciding I hate cartoons or driving a oil tanker into a beach to teach sea lions a lesson or some nonsense.
Okay, the sea lions do need to learn a lesson.
You know what? Sometimes they just need to respect hospital quiet hours.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, not to say that I've driven an oil tanker into a beach. That's not
Yeah, I haven't either.
Evidence.
Me neither. Nope.
No, I've never
Definitely
been
not.
clubbing.
I played Overlord too.
Anyway. So, one of the big things that has been happening has been a massive push for corporate consolidation. Because many companies in the United States are now being profit first and longevity and ethics never, many companies are having to answer to shareholders who have no understanding of the industry that they are investing in. They do not care if you're doing it right. They only care that they are getting their record profits back.
So
that it's a safe bet for them to keep funneling money. This is why you have massive companies like Kroger and Monsanto merging, even though those two companies could buy entire countries with their portfolios. And the film industry and the game industry are no strangers to this either. The problem is that when you start getting your portfolios to be that large, it stops being viable. Many projects that are small but successful stop appearing successful. Great example of this is Adam Ruins Everything. Do you know a comedian named Adam Conover?
Yeah.
First one. Uh-huh.
Great comedian.
Yeah, he's great.
He does this thing. He did this TV show where he gives disillusionments. He dispels illusions about certain industries and talks about how things are done in a very comedic light. And on the network that he was on, it was the most successful show on that network. And that network was gaining ratings. It was humble, but it was good. AT&T purchases Warner Brothers, which owns the company that owns the company that owns the company that owns the company that owns Adam Ruins Everything. And from the portfolio, they take one look at it and grab their monocle and their bespectacled caviar vials or whatever that they have to mainline or something like that through their sinuses. Wouldn't recommend it. I don't believe that that's a great place to reproduce fish. And said, Does Adam Ruins Everything find it to be profitable? Well, yes, it's profitable. No. I'm not asking if it's profitable. I'm asking if it's profitable.
Is the most profitable thing possible?
Like Harry Potter. Is it Harry Potter levels of profitable? And like, well, obviously no, but it's not trying to be. It's making like, it's got the ratings where like it's getting pretty decent numbers for where it's at. Oh well, it's not making Harry Potter numbers, so we have to tighten the belt.
Magus, you have to stop. You have to stop. I want to punch you. You are. every single word that I'm unironically imagining a dipshit fucking saying all that, and you are perfectly conveying the fucking tone of a person that I'd want to punch, even if they sue me into oblivion. I will make that punch worth it.
It's a combination of businesses being beholden to be making record profits regardless of the longevity of it, as well as a massive amount of investors who do not understand the field that they are in and the work that they are expected to do. And that's tragic because you end up getting situations like Infinity Train. Infinity Train was a show that was on HBO Max and had a hard time getting its funding. Mostly because they had to justify getting greenlit every time. If you've never seen Infinity Train, it is Silent Hill for children. It is one of the best things that Cartoon Network has ever produced. It is up there with Samurai Jack, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I do not say that lightly.
Yeah, that's a strong recommendation.
I mean, for God's sakes, they have Kate Mulgrew as one of the lead actresses in it. If you don't know her, she played Captain Janeway in Star Trek, and this Russian lady in Orange is the New Black, and she's a phenomenal actress.
She's red on Orange is the New Black, right?
Yeah, she's red. Thank you. So at one point, Infinity Train was canceled, but it wasn't just canceled. It was canceled. It was delisted, and it was delisted from HBO Max. It had 4 seasons, and two of which had a physical release. By doing it this way, they not only removed your ability to watch this show, they defunded the healthcare and residuals that any of the animators, actors, and creators would have gotten on those productions. To make matters even further worse, when they announced that they made this announcement and removed it from the platforms before the creator even knew what was happening. And when they said their reasoning was a lack of ratings, the creator of the show said, I know that is a lie because 1, you fired all the people that were in charge of reporting the demographics to you, and 2, I hired a third-party aggregate to check the ratings because you were giving me a hard time trying to greenlight season 4, and the numbers that I had was the 91st percentile of animation. That is Simpsons numbers.
That's nuts. Sorry.
I am genuinely raging internally here.
To summarize, and here's the part where I sadly have to take a modicum of I have to take a moment of silence in favor of the poor CEO. And I hate that I have to do this, but it's good to be comprehensive in the argument. I detest Zaslav very much because many of the projects that I almost got greenlit were canceled because of the on-high decisions that made a lot of people I care about lose their jobs. However, David Zaslav's decision to do these tax write-offs is not entirely his fault. What happened was when AT&T a couple years back acquired Warner Brothers' entire portfolio, they made the decision to dump as much content as possible into the ether to try and push their streaming service. They wanted a Netflix. And their idea of doing a Netflix is by putting as much money into the pipeline as possible. So you got productions that would in a million years never do very well or did not have good longevity to it. And that's not to say that I didn't like the risk taking that they were doing in there, but it was thoughtless risk taking. For every Infinity Train and Final Space and Westworld that was getting put out there You had stuff like, what if we did a sitcom, but it was adult humor and we had them say fuck a lot, and like half the jokes were people having sex in an apartment. Like you had plenty of projects that were like that. Not quite drawn together, but I'm talking about like situational comedies. But anyway, AT&T was so reckless with that, they end up accruing, I think it was $21 billion in debt. And Zaslav, who was head of Discovery, acquired that. A man who has virtually no experience with fictional media. I mean, technically reality shows are fictional, but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So when you can't, if you cancel,
part is that they're good.
Yeah, if you cancel and delist Lizard Lick Towing, most people are going to be like, I'm sad that show's not around anymore, but I don't care because it's a reality show. But if you cancel Westworld and delist it, you're like, no, that is a cultural monolith. That is a landmark
Touchstone.
in HBO's programming. That is Touchstone there. So Zaslav has the unenviable position of having to find a way to save $21 billion for a company that is demanding record-making profits the whole time, while also having to maintain that we cannot invest in new productions or go beyond our usual scope. So
also not letting them set up the infrastructure to create better shows in the future, because you have to worry about this profit margin, not the future one.
Yeah, because you have to do long-term investment. You end up starting at the loss, and then you end up gaining it. But people that invest nowadays don't think about that. They are sophomoric 20-somethings with brainworms that treat the stock market like it's a casino.
Well, because to them it is, because they can. If you're not making the most profit possible, then they will walk and find somebody who is. You don't just have to be making profit, you have to be making more profit than anybody else. Otherwise, you're not making enough profit to get any investors, because the investors will walk to the person who is making more profit. You can't be good enough, because good enough never is. You have to be the best, or you are nothing. This is as opposed to, like, back in the day with, like, Clerks, where they, Kevin Smith said, they let me keep making movies because I never made a loss, And that mentality used to be the mentality for the games industry and for cartoons as well. Is like, if you're making something and it's not losing us money, then okay, you can make another one because it's not losing us money and it's more content. Sure, whatever. You didn't hurt us. But now there's this mentality that you are hurting us if you are not making more money than X, and X is a moving target that you can never hit.
And the other side of that is that now we have a medium where a season of television doesn't have the staying power that it used to, because we lost access to home media in terms of, like, it being a reliable moneymaker. Oddly enough, Matt Damon was the one that spelled this out during, like, an interview of on Hot Ones of all things, where they said, why aren't you making, like, these big romantic comedies anymore? He goes, well, back in the day, you only had 3 weeks to make a movie, or 3 weeks to make your money back in a movie theater. Yeah. Now, if it was something like a big blockbuster like Independence Day or something like that, that was fine. You could definitely get that money back. But home video allowed us basically a second life for a lot of the stuff that we used to watch. Yeah. The film industry was more willing to risk a movie like 10 Things I Hate About You if they could find a second life in the home video market. But now that, because streaming has become the big thing, can't do that anymore. And that sucks, because now we can't be as big risk takers, and the ones that are risk takers are doing this at a massive risk. It's part of the reason why producers have become so scared of allowing anything that has a verisimilitude of uniqueness to stand out in some way or another without them, like, meddling the absolute crap out of it. The only place where you can do that without intense levels of meddling is, I hate to say it, animation. Mostly because executives don't care about the animation.
In the indie market, where that's the nature of things.
Mm-hmm.
It really is like extremely infuriating. Like it's like I mean that does go back to what I said earlier. It's like, and in the past it felt like there was a logic to, like, if a studio is about to like go under or whatever, because it's like you can, based on the quality of their like products and the sales, there was a very basic logic to it.
There's an explanation for why that's shifted.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
If you don't mind me telling you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sure.
I know that I've been presenting this long conversation in a way that comes off as a
I'm
little
good
bit
with the long
tinfoil hatty.
conversation. It's just making me mad.
Well, no, like I know that I went from video games to animation to the film industry to DVDs to
connected.
the streaming wars.
I mean,
No, it's connected.
I now have to pivot
You
one
made-
last time to
Music
You make
industry.
good
piece all of.
connections all the way. So, like, there's no problem.
I have to piece one. I have to give one last piece of the puzzle that will help give you a comprehensive understanding of why we are where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Boeing.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Okay. Boeing was for decades an engineering first company. That was what they were doing. At any point that you were able to do that they made any mistakes about their planes, a CEO would come down to the factory and personally beat the shit out of the guy that was responsible for trying to cut corners. Because that's just how you needed to work in engineering. You make one mistake, you outsource one lug nut, you're gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I love the meme that you posted up of 47.
Where?
Anyway,
I'll put it in the chat here. I just flashed it on screen for a second as a gag.
in the 90s, Boeing acquired another company that was terrible at what they did. Their whole profit margin was profits first and engineering second. But by doing so, by acquiring that company, they accidentally contaminated the environment of the executive branch of Boeing. So Boeing went from being engineering first to stock first.
Mm-hmm.
Most of their budget was not going into oversight and double checking their factories and stuff, and was going more into stock buybacks and dividends and bonds and all of the, for coming off from somebody who does not have an economics degree, casino shit.
Yeah.
It's why would I focus my money on the engineer who makes sure my plane doesn't fall out of the sky when I could be making 10 times the amount of profit by buying these chips in the stock market and get them back and just throw the guy over to Taiwan.
I don't need the airplane. I already have the money.
And that
then
mentality
suffer no consequences because that's another side effect that we can get into. Is there's no consequences for failure.
Actually, can
Well,
I add a
for
consequence there? I hope that when he's in his private jet, suddenly the half of the plane falls off. Half the nuts fall off.
In Minecraft.
It's that in that decision making, you make those tiny.
It would be a bout of dramatic irony if that occurred.
I would love it. Anyway, go on.
And
Sorry.
it's from that little decision making, the little nail that forms the bed of nails. Much like as I was going back to 3 years ago when I was talking about Brian fucking Griffin and his script. It's those little decisions where it keeps incrementally going more and more and more, where it's more about profit, more about cutting corners, more about profits, that we are now at the stage where Boeing has planes literally falling out of the sky and yet is reporting record profits.
Mm-hmm.
We've had airlines literally beat men to within an inch of their lives and still report record profits because the profits are not about the quality of the business anymore, but the quality of the magic number that go woo.
Mm-hmm.
And when you divorce that, you now start making insane decisions where the CEO is now incentivized to torpedo the company they're responsible for.
Mm-hmm.
Because
it's all
you
about
get shit like
incentivization.
you get shit
Yes.
like Electronic Arts, where they will tank a business and the CEO will lose their work and they'll lose their job, but they have a buyback dividend and they've got stock options. If they lose their job, they're going to walk away with $3 million. We're basically rewarding them
Yeah,
to
there's no
do a
incentive
terrible
to.
job.
You know,
Yes, except for the basic
I
part.
just
They're
realized
literally
something.
just rewarding them.
Yeah.
You know, I just realized something. This has all the making of one of those 3 to 5 minute wonderful shorts where you have a greedy CEO and he keeps taking stuff away to the point where he dies because of his stupid decision because because the plane fell apart.
I'm gonna put this out there. Tech Diff made a comment on Sprig's stream that I want to read off.
Yeah,
real quick.
I saw it.
Do you mind if I read it?
Please.
Oh, go ahead. Here.
Please.
Also, can we talk about the fact that Boeing isn't willing to pay to use materials other than scrap metal, hotel key cards, and Dawn dish soap, but is willing to pay to hire assassins to go after anybody who dares try and become a whistleblower? And I can explain that for you. Those tiny little things with the scrap metal, hotel key cards, and stuff, those add up to millions of dollars. But offing a whistleblower, you can do that for 30 grand.
Mm-hmm.
It's always so annoying because it's like, oh, so you got fucking money to pay the lawyers to suppress us and pay the guards to beat the shit out of us for striking instead of the money to pay us in the first place.
And
as cynical as it sounds, it is much cheaper to add.
Oh no, I know.
Well, let me finish what I was going to say. As cynical and as awful as it sounds, it is much more financially practical for them to add metal rungs to a bench outside so that a homeless person can't sleep on it than to fix the homeless problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it
sucks. The worst part to me is like every time I get into a conversation with someone about why I care about the U.S., it's partially I've got a good amount of friends that are there, and I don't want them to be in a hellhole.
B, that shit trickles down everywhere else.
Yeah, B, it cascades.
That's the problem. It's the imperial toilet. It's the imperial toilet where the overflow falls down onto everybody else.
Yeah.
Like, let's say that you own an oil rig. Let's say that that proper disposal is going to cost you $10,000 per day. Let's say that the fine for dumping it into the ocean is $7,000 today. You call that fine a write-off.
Yeah. Yep.
It's
because why wouldn't you?
It's so disgusting. Like I don't know what I want with that country. It's just that I used to dream about like going to like California because that's where the cartoons were. That's where the that's where a lot of game devs were for studios that made games that I liked, like Westwood.
I'll tell you the honest truth. I have been to California. Not that great. It's just like basically an airport. At least that's all I saw. So I assume it's the whole thing.
Hang on now. How far did you get from LAX? Because if you're going to tell me 3 miles, you're still in LAX.
No.
Yeah.
I did not leave the airport.
Okay, there you go. Well, as long as you're being honest.
My point is, I went from like thinking of like, well, it's America. It's got problems like any other country, I would assume. Then I started to just see it as, oh wow, this is just a third world country masquerading as a first world one.
Yep.
Okay. It's granted you still have opportunities that you don't have anywhere else, but it's like it doesn't change the fact that it's like. By the way, just to be very clear, as someone who plays strategy games and I see the peasants are gonna cause damage to the economy because they're mad and unhappy. My usual first instinct is to try and fix what's making them unhappy.
Yeah, but the police Bearcats are really cool, Dictator. Don't you want your army to have like APC capabilities in a suburban area?
So what I thought, the Boeing conversation was very poignant and appropriate. I thought you were going to bring up the music industry.
I mean,
please don't.
the music
Because
industry has its
every time
problem with Spotify and a lot of the ownership of your music and stuff like that. But I felt Boeing was more poignant because it was a very concrete example of how a short-term profit mindset can be toxic to virtually any industry.
Oh, absolutely, no question. But I just want to briefly touch on the music scene specifically of the 90s and early 2000s, where publishers were harvesting talent and being outright abusive to any of the talent that they had because they could, and who could stop them? Where artists can still no longer use their own name because they sold their name to the publisher house, and anything they make, they cannot put their own name on technically. And we're seeing the games and animation industries go closer in the direction of the idea of the music publisher destroying the talent in order to squeeze out a couple more dollars than we have seen but then we would like to see, which is the classic film industry, where you can if you don't lose the studio money, then you're allowed to make another thing.
Funny enough, it actually speaks of a line.
Do you mind if I mention a small triumph? Just because it was something I came across recently. So, I assume that you guys have heard of Video Game Donkey.
Yes, Big Mode!
Do it! He started a publishing house called Big Mode. And he basically, his whole thing was, why do you publish games that are bad? I'm gonna publish games that are good. And then everybody's like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
That'll never work.
He did it, and his first one came out 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 across the board.
Wait.
Nice.
Yeah, whoa.
It's second. It's the second. Yes, it's the second bestseller on Steam right now.
Yep.
It's right behind Hades 2.
So that was by him?
Yes.
He published
He didn't
it.
make it. He's publishing it.
This is like a YouTuber went, why keep people publishing bad games? Just publish good ones, forehead, and then he did it.
I think honestly, the best thing change that we... Sorry, go ahead.
Go. You first.
I think that the best change and push that we can see in the video games industry now is from a little indie studio, and yes, they are still considered an indie studio, called Larian. Because we are still seeing the effects of Baldur's Gate's affect, the everything, and we are barely able to calculate how much that has affected, like, the landscape of games. Because the amount of money that went into it compared to the amount of money that went out of it, the rewards and the profit margins and everything in between only exist because Larian was allowed minimal supervision and maximum creative control. And that, I think, needs to be the shining light that we all hold up.
And Larian keeps their talent. They don't throw away their talent.
Yes.
They have all this institutional knowledge, and they keep it.
They keep it. And they grow it. I
think there might be a very small chance, I hope it's going to be a big chance, that this era is going to be so fucking heinous on all fronts in terms of entertainment, all at once, that we're just gonna see people be like, no, if it's gonna be like this, if it's gonna be like this for the end of fucking time, I might as well self-publish, or at least find a smaller publisher. Like, people are just gonna make everything indie, and even if it fucking kills them, because you can't trust the publisher is just gonna fucking wreck it.
Now, I can tell you, right, sorry, finish your thought.
I also just wanted to add a small addendum, Megas, to your APC comment earlier. You know what tends to happen when I have a lot of money because I've developed everything properly? I get to have the cool APCs patrolling my streets, and the population is happy.
I mean, Yeah, that's how you get potholes, dude. Those APCs aren't built for suburban trawl.
Well, that's why I do some R&D for that, to make them better. My point is, I got money to throw around because I did the long-term investment.
Scribbling in notes, make roads bulletproof. Anyway, what was I about to say? I lost my
Or just
train of
invent
thought a
hover
little
tech.
bit. Okay, there is a silver... I will say that there is something that is promising. That I know that we've been discussing a lot of gloom and doom, but in the time that I have been doing research for my professor position for sound design and animation, I've discovered that animation has always been the pioneers in the industry. They're the first. They were the first ones to start researching sound. They were the first ones to start pushing different business models. They were almost always willing to do something very different and adapt when things were not looking good. And right now, animation has been doing what the film industry has been dreading for, and that a lot of them are starting to shift towards indie and making their own indie pipelines. That being said, and I'm going to echo something that a valued colleague of mine, Fable Siegel, had said in an interview about this. Indie animation and the indie market cannot replace the mainstream AAA department.
True.
You just can't. It is not built for that. Because if you do, you end up getting crap like Dave the Diver, a pretty fun game, but a game where it's a AAA title dressing itself up like an indie title.
Yeah.
Beyonce in homeless clothing, if you will. Tyra Banks. I misunderstood. I made the mistake. I don't remember if Beyonce also did that, but the point stands.
Man, I don't know anything about it.
I have
and
Dave the Diver was made by a AAA studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I think
you can't tell.
And in a similar direction to that, like, one heartening thing about the video games industry is that if you compare video games to the industry to film, we are barely out of the black and white era. Video games is still a young industry and that is, in a lot of ways, still trying to find its legs. And we still have the opportunity to make sure that the investor mentality is not those legs. We can still take control. And exactly, as you say, there will be AAA studios in the mainstream, just as there will always be your Everyone Loves Raymond sitcoms at every point in history, but
and Wizard Lick towing reality shows.
Well, at the same time, there will be pieces of art, and we can safely say at this point in history that a lot of the big public push stuff is probably going to move more towards, well, AI, frankly, but it's going to move more towards just general acceptance, general publicly. Things that are going to be very safe, and all we can do is make sure that stays a springboard to get people into the better stuff, the stuff that's made with quality, and teach people to understand and educate people to understand and appreciate the quality of the games that are good, frankly, but that we respect.
I have a bit of a tinfoil hat theory that I would like to share with you. And I need to cement this. This is not something that I wholeheartedly believe, but it is a feeling deep in my gut in the same way that Santa Claus is in all of us. If you don't mind the bizarre parallel there.
I don't know where you're going, but I'm listening.
I am Santa Claus.
I do not have enough evidence to be able to say that this is exactly what's happening. Hence why I'm saying everybody put on your tinfoil hats for this one, because this is a very hot take. And I'm probably going to get a little bit lambasted for it, but the moment I say it, maybe some of you are going to be like, actually, that's a really good theory. Here we go. It's almost like the people that are in charge of every aspect of our industry have come to understand that they have so permanently fucked the planet and don't have more than 60 years left that they're just running up the score as much as possible by making as short-term, high-profit decisions that they can make without any type of understanding of longevity, because longevity doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what?
You're in a room of people that do not look at these people as human anymore.
That's not totally true.
Like that is a very.
Okay, they're still human, but I refuse to look at them that way.
That is a very.
They are human, but I would not respect them.
Yeah.
I do not respect the choices that they have made.
Like I said, grain of salt, or maybe Dead Sea grain of salt.
Well, I don't think it's that far-fetched. I mean, look at Public Works. I mean, there's a running somewhere between meme and just the way things are on my Discord about talking about infrastructure and like just the way that infrastructure exists nowadays. When's the last time there's been a great Public Works project in North America?
Actually, as a matter of fact, they are working on a high-speed rail between Vegas and LA. And the only reason why we didn't have that up until recently was because Elon Musk promised us a rich person corpse tube called the Hyperloop.
I've been on the Hyperloop. It was awful.
You can't open the doors when you get in there. If that car breaks down, you've died.
And that's not even the Hyperloop that was originally promised either.
No, that was just around Vegas.
Because it was originally supposed to be a vacuum tube with an air cushion train.
Yep.
But they realized that trains exist and they don't need to reinvent them.
But now I do want the vacuum tube so I can just go sloop to somewhere.
Yeah.
Was it GD?
I just love that every time that they've gotten an AI to discuss the possible solutions for the climate change problem, they keep having to recalibrate and retweak it because the answer they keep getting every time they ask them is, the answer is trains. It's always been trains. Yeah. Why do you not take trains?
Trains are good. Trains are awesome.
I forget what the YouTuber's name is, but he always brings it up. He did a video about some stupid sea pods recently. I
know who you're talking about too.
He always it's the central joke. No, it's not just spikes. It's somebody else.
It's another person in the same vein. They do similar content.
He always keeps bringing up the liberty. It always falls back on trains exist. It's always just trains. Everything that they come up with.
That's correct.
An alternative.
Oh my god. Trains are the infrastructure equivalent of the evolutionary conundrum that is crabs.
This is what I've been saying all along. Everything eventually, you optimize something long enough, it eventually becomes either a train or a crab.
Yep.
All right, guys, all of you, crab train.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need to make crab
amazing.
I hope it doesn't have a weak spot.
Also, my chat saying trains rights. I love it.
Yes.
I have ladies and gentlemen of the Legion of Doom, I have mathematically perfected the ultimate organism as a perfect blend between biological evolutionary tract and technological genius. Behold, the crab train! Superman in the corner being fuck.
Man, I sometimes really wish I didn't have to focus on Teen Neighborhood just so I can draw stupid stuff based around my character, because he is meant to be a super villain in that world, and there are super villains, and he's the D tier.
I love that you want to do that villain thing, but you're over here being no, I want to do fun supervillain shit, rob a bank or something like that. That buying out a desert so that I could get a monopoly on the water market is both boring and needlessly cruel.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's from a place. He's from a place where they train the minions. Not the ones you're thinking of. The classical use of the word minion, the goon, the henchman.
You're gonna have to revise the goon one because that one's different now too.
Oh God, yeah, goon.
Word.
Goon means a new thing now, and I don't like it.
What?
It doesn't refer to people from something awful anymore. It has something to do with masturbation.
Why? Why did you people? What is wrong with this
I'm
generation?
sorry. I'm sorry for telling you this, but it's true.
We gotta take back goon. We lost minion, okay? Goon.
Why'd you have to break
the right-hand man type of guy?
You had to dispel the illusion. You might as well.
That's the thing that I do.
Sorry, go ahead, Magus. Say your thing.
Yeah. I'm just sitting over here being like, he's sitting off in the corner being like, you do realize you don't get money by breaking your teeth and putting it under the pillow, right? It's just your parents doing it. If they didn't have money, you wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, yes, but you don't have to say it.
It's, you know, I'm still kind of proud of like the little weird but funny system that I came up for how my fictional country, which I did the smart thing and I took a book term for it, Ruritanian. And essentially the way their quote-unquote democracy, dictatorial democracy works, every 2 years, when the guy has proven that he's a complete dipshit and has abused his power enough, they violently overthrow him, and whoever was the most convincing is the next to take in line. And most of them do get killed, or they flee. So they pretty much just keep killing the guys in charge until they eventually stumble upon, okay, this guy's managed okay for 10 years. I think we're good.
At some point, I imagine the first argument on that one was like, all right, here's my argument. This here is a gun. I'm the only one in the room with the gun, so give it to me. Okay. And you know, it worked for a little while, and then they got to their discretionary budgetary meeting, and they're like, sir, how do we deal with the tax situation involving the dam project? And he goes, this is a gun. That's not going to work here, sir. But it's a gun.
You see, that's why most of them last like a year or 2 years, because it's like, well, they shoot too many people. Yeah, like, he shoots. They shoot too many people. They end up putting too many people in front of the firing line for like the most arbitrary things, and that's how they determine. Oh no, this. And funnily enough, that still has less of a death rate than the average capitalist system, because they just let people die. Here, it's just death by gun, which is usually just arbitrated by one person, which is the guy in charge.
That's one thing that I find very frustrating about like the trope of the bad guy who ends up killing the guy for trusting them.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't like the villains where they go, now if you decide to do this thing where you work for me, I will give you what you want. And then it always ends up where you're in a room surrounded by a bunch of goons. I'm going to use the term. I'm taking it back in that way.
Yeah, we're taking it back.
And then the villain's like, thank you, you've been very helpful, and shoots the guy. At no point do any of the goons be like, hey, yo, boss, I don't know about you, but can we talk about my pension plan? Because, like, I'm starting to have second thoughts here.
I got a bunch of
companies on the subject, just because I'm like, I am also aware of the new definition of it. I think it is now a verb. And there's another word.
Tuning.
They add a suffix for the individual. So I think using a goon to refer to a mook or henchman is still correct.
Oh, by the way, that's a good point, Dragon Blast. Mook's another good word, but I'm
Mook
not.
is an excellent
they're
word.
Gonna find a way to take it away from us sooner or later.
But Sprig is right. It is usually gooner. So.
Yep.
I apologize for knowing this.
Two goons in the break room are enjoying some coffee, and like Muggsy comes up and goes, "Charlie, are you ready to have a good day of this?" Like, "You bet, Muggsy. All right, let's go out and go gooning. Come on." And then Muggsy's like, "Charlie, you can't fucking say that anymore. We've talked about this. We had like a whole meeting about this."
Charlie,
Is this gonna be another one of those?
Charlie, that's sexual harassment. You can't do that.
Is this going to be another one of those like 1950s comics where it's like, I just need to give him some hard dick because that was just a phrase that meant a serious talk to you then, and now doesn't? Is it going to be like that? Are we seeing that in real time?
Wait, Jade, what does
That was
it mean
almost
now?
exactly.
Is that not what that means? I was under the impression that that's what that meant. What does to give someone a hard dick mean now?
I have no idea.
I wanted to. There's also I also like that. Yet again, I still love the base idea behind my character being like, he was much like most dictatorish people throughout history. He was part of a rich family. He had access to a computer and he had access to strategy to like 4X games that try to simulate how an actual functioning country works. And it's like,
I like the idea of your guy being like, "Hey, yo, it's like, sir, we're having a bit of problem with the crop yield. What shall we do?" And you're like, "Hold on, I gotta pick up my copy of Democracy 3. I'll simulate it out."
That was actually, that was unironically actually a plot point in a season of Archer, believe it or not. That was really funny.
You're kidding.
Wait.
Well, it's not exactly, but it was the one where Cyril becomes a dictator, and then like suddenly they realize that he's actually winning the war. Why is he so good at this? He's a Warhammer nerd. That was the reason.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, I've seen so much Archer, but I forgot about that. I hate it.
I haven't seen that one. I didn't watch some of the later seasons, so that's interesting.
I'm sorry.
Combine a man who knows their way around a spreadsheet with despotic levels of ambition. They could etch their name on the very surface of the planet.
Yep.
But
I'm
yeah,
sorry, this is, across every one of my super flat runs, this is my first time seeing dripstone actually available. I need it. This is infinite lava. This is big deal.
Okay, what is dripstone?
It's a pointy rock, and it lets me make infinite lava.
That's
nice.
That is too many lava. I don't trust that. That's too many lava.
You can never have
too bad. It's mine.
Have you seen the average villain lair costs these days? Lava is the biggest expense.
True.
But yeah, it's like I just love always thinking about this character, and the idea that he spends part of his time, instead of running the country, he just spends it on like reviewing cartoons and fucking games is hilarious to me. Like
oh god, oh GD, did you see the contents of Osama bin Laden's hard drive? Including all of the video games.
I'm gonna be honest. Even though he did terrible things, that changed my perspective on him. Not that he's better.
I'm sorry.
Not that he's better. To be very clear. Not that he's better.
Could you run that by me again?
He said he's a big fan of Osama bin Laden.
Yeah.
He said
it was the idea.
Osama bin Laden super fan.
No, I'm asking what games he had on his hard drive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like
it's just what it sounds like.
I think it was Final Fantasy.
No, I didn't hear it because you're both talking over each other.
Just go, Paul Arms.
Okay, I'll stop talking.
No, you go, because the only thing that I remember is Final Fantasy, personally.
Oh my god!
And
I don't remember all the things. It was like so many. Like he had a whole bunch of emulators and ROMs and stuff, and like weird games too. Not like the kind of thing you find when you're just going out and getting a couple of games. Mm-hmm. He had weird stuff, like esoteric stuff.
Are we talking like esoteric, like dream simulator, LSD dream simulator, or are we talking
God.
way outside his
Hold on,
wheelhouse?
I've got to look
Barbie
it up
Horse
to get
Adventures?
specifics.
Did he have a copy of Crush, Kill, and Destroy too? That's what I'm wondering.
I'd be fascinated if he was running around with a copy of Barbie Horse Adventures.
But yeah, what
I don't remember the specifics, but
yeah, he had a bunch.
honestly-
Okay, it wasn't so much the games. He had like a whole bunch of DBZ stuff and some porn games, but he also had a bunch of like animated movies.
Oh yeah, no, that
Ants?
I was
Cars?
I was aware of that. Wait, what did you say?
My God, he had cars on his hard drive. He was a monster.
Uh-huh.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like a true evil person.
It
I
kind of makes me think back on go ahead.
When I first heard of this, I was like, this can't be real. You can't be this. You can't be in this kind of position in your life, and be allowed things that a normal person might enjoy. This is not allowed. This is not allowed.
and that's actually something that I find really interesting. Is keep in mind that no one's the villain in their own eyes. Nobody thinks of themselves as evil or cruel. Everybody is just a person, and people really often get sent in strange mental loops, or like rejecting the idea of seeing someone who they have painted as evil actually just being a human being and having human interests because of the other things they've done. It's like, no, they're still a person. They still, had enjoyed watching some stuff, and they're still, and there's still tracks that show the humanity that is there because they are still a human being who lived in a semi-modern culture. Like,
that's actually the interesting thing to me, because it's like it's really amazing how much the brain rot goes. Because even today, even after I heard that, I still have. Granted, he was from a rich family, so that's probably partially explains it. But I still find it so difficult to imagine. Like, if you tell me someone's from, like, I don't know, Middle East, pick a country, hopefully one that's not bombed to hell.
Redacted Stan.
I still find it. Yeah. I find it so hard to imagine them ever touching. Maybe they touched a PlayStation 1. Maybe they've seen a PlayStation 1, but not ever touched it. And then they were. That's how difficult I have the idea to imagine it. When I know for a fact these countries do tend to end up with the surplus of old tech and stuff, which, honestly enough, is part of how we sometimes find lost media, is because they had all this old stuff lying around. And they once they got access to the internet, they generously uploaded it, and it's
it's
very interesting. That's very interesting to think about to me.
I've been watching Prince Valiant on YouTube because it's free on there, and it's like an old Family Channel animation adaptation of a weekly Sunday newspaper comic, and it's actually pretty solid. It's weird to say. I've found so many things that are interesting, but it's like I feel like I unless I can justify it with something like I want to make a video about this, I find it like difficult to like justify. Like, okay, so I have to show you this thing that I made for Jade because pretty much I effectively did this mentally.
So question? Sure, Obsidian Cyrix.
If you can see it on my stream. Like, suppose I can, like, I'll just copy paste it. I'm stupid.
What now?
Hold on.
When I play StarCraft 2, I'm having issues installing and logging in.
Here.
Not recently, but we've been playing it on Sundays for community night recently.
I posted it in New World D&D. I made this for Jade. And, this was essentially me, as I sent her, like, a 5-hour video about North Korean entertainment.
Every time I send her a video essay, this is the exact mental image I have every single time.
It's fantastic.
Hey Jade, want to watch a 5-hour video about something niche?
I mean, yes, but what?
Yeah, that's
and
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and I watched that video, and it's like, it's genuinely interesting, and every time I see videos that are about something like that, and the Funklands like the Disney Channel theme video.
That one
when I
was pretty
see
good.
videos like that, and they're so wonderfully like researched, and it's about something niche, like very small, something that most people wouldn't even think about, and then it's like this like rabbit hole.
It's beautiful.
And to me, that's beautiful. And I've seen so many like cartoons that I just like barely ever see anyone bring up. And I see all these like big channels, but they're kind of talking around in circles around the same stuff that I've seen mentioned like before and in detail too. And I'm just like, I want to do this myself, but I still need to maintain like the audience by making more Team Neighborhood episodes. So it's like I'm kind of stuck until I get like a large enough audience that some of them might spill over into the new content.
I mean, I don't think anyone's going to begrudge you for a little bit of a shitpost about something that you care about, because you're passionate enough about it.
Yeah.
I mean, for God's sakes, I'm known as like the guy that makes audio dramas and stuff, and yet inexplicably, the most famous thing that I've ever done was a shitpost I made for the Addict music video from Has Been Hotel.
Yeah, it's incredible,
know,
like the
man.
things that
I
go
wish
viral.
I could explain it to you.
The thing is, it's like
It is beyond human.
I want influence. I was actually thinking of putting out like a tweet. I probably to the void, but it's like I always like ask myself. The only reason I want like 500,000 subscribers is so that I can just share my interests with them. That's the only reason I want them.
Yeah, my goal is to get to the point where I can play whatever game I want, regardless of whether that's going to bring in new viewers, because the fact that it's me playing it will interest enough people to become interested in these strange, obscure games that I sometimes just want to play.
So when are you going to start playing Animal Well?
Oh, when do you want to play it?
I'm just saying. I got it right now.
Yeah? Well.
But like actually,
I mean,
like
in that vein, I know that I'm not exactly a success, a success myself, but that's just what I do.
Hey, look, Sprig, somebody told me something really interesting about Twitch, and that was if you have more than 20 more than 20 people watching your stream consistently, you are doing better than 96% of the people on the platform.
Yeah.
I'm like top 5% streamers. I'm aware of that.
That is a cartoon factoid that I didn't think was possible.
No,
like,
it makes sense when you
but
think
like
how
most
many
people that I know
try
that
streaming.
are, I always think of like the big people streaming are like the people that like have like, you know, a crazy amount of numbers. Like they've got recommended channels, and I'm watching your stream right now, and it's like, oh yeah, this one guy's got 39,000 people watching it. I'm like, that feels wrong. That feels like an incorrect number.
If we were to like approximately extrapolate and like say like based on what I make streaming and like doing my full-time streaming, if I was to make enough to pay rent at like an average apartment in my country, I would need to be having about 180 viewers a day.
Damn.
Average.
Yeah.
That was an idea.
Just assuming that viewership like directly equated to income increase, of course. Like,
Which instantly it doesn't.
it does not, but
Like here's the thing. I just the one sad thing that
actually, this does actually kind of go back to a mood of mine. Like, I always feel bad whenever I see like channel has 1.7 thousand videos, and it's like he actually has been kind of trying or whatever, and somehow they've not managed to move the bar at all in terms of subscribers. Which, if anything, it tells me I've managed something at least by a certain point in comparison to most people. Before Team Neighborhood even, but I always just think of like and going back to the North Korea video, the one guy that got kidnapped, the director, like he made a movie that stick in the background of my head, but I just haven't like gotten around to it. The Adventures of Galgameth here, and what I find fascinating about it is it's just a rewrite of the movie that he made while he was a captive in a kaiju movie while he was a captive in North Korea. And the sad part is, and this is always a sad and extremely painful to me personally story, is when you have someone that has promise or whatever, or when he's in a situation that allows him to make movies, but the moment he's out of that situation, he's instantly forgotten. He is no longer like worth of note of anything. He's not made anything of note, and that kills me internally. The idea that someone can go from being somewhat successful and recognizable to like just nothing, which I understand that that can just happen, but I usually like to think that they actively do shitty things enough to warrant being forgotten. But no, instead of just he just never made anything worthwhile again. And that kills me. That kills me that can happen, as you very rarely hear those stories. I mean, granted, he could have been still stuck in North Korea, so he does technically have a semi-happy ending, I guess. But to me, those stories hit me personally the hardest. Like, just being forgotten or lost to obscurity fully.
Yeah.
Which is why I want to share the things that I love most with people, and preferably something that doesn't take me 5 fucking years each time to make.
I mean, part of what drives me in that front is like creating community, because regardless of if I am forgotten, there have been people who have met and felt safe enough to talk about their sexuality because they were in a community of some strange internet lizard. There are people who have met, there are multiple people who have met and fallen in love because they both watched my videos and joined my Discord. I'm not saying that if you join my Discord you'll fall in love, I'm just saying that there's a non-zero chance.
It has happened before, stranger things can happen.
But the idea that what I'm creating is
I want to be clear. Jade is guaranteeing this.
What I want to clarify is that, like, there is a beauty in creating a third space in a culture that has, by and large, eliminated third spaces from their communities. And that's something that I can be proud of, even if I don't make another video. I will, but, even if nothing else, I feel like I've been able to make a safe third space for people to express themselves, be seen, and communicate with others.
The thing, I have to blame you for something. I have to blame you specifically for making that wanting to make these like side videos that are just like video / essays. Because I really rediscovered how much I genuinely love to share things with people because you partially because of the community nights, because just like watching like 6 episodes of 3 different cartoons is the kind of experience that I was fucking missing from my life, genuinely.
For anybody who doesn't know, Tuesday evenings on my Discord, we do Saturday morning cartoons, where we watch 3 different shows, just an episode of each as a group, and it's just a beautiful, get-together moment. So I just wanted to explain.
Shit, you want me to come in with wild thorn bearers or something at some point, if you haven't already done so.
We're that's actually not a bad suggestion. We usually usually try to steer it in the direction of stuff that people might not be familiar with, the first and foremost.
Blazing Dragons, Pirates of Dark Water, Bucky O'Hare, Sam & Max.
Granted, Sam & Max is not that obscure, but not enough people fucking talk about the cartoon.
It's obscure to the younger generations, and a lot of both of our audiences skew a bit on the younger side.
That's you see, I think that's part of my problem whenever I see like big channels, cartoon channels, only have like a video that's like, I don't know, a 10-minute on something like Sam & Max, and that doesn't mean that video is bad. That doesn't mean that at all. But I'm just saying, SpongeBob has had enough attention. I'm sorry, that Noodle video was wonderful. It was a very wonderful tribute.
Oh, the Noodle one?
Was wonderful. Yeah, the new one. But it was fucking SpongeBob. I'm sorry.
At the same time,
when I saw that it was SpongeBob, I was like,
at the same time, man, the origins of SpongeBob are appropriately weird enough for it to be worth talking
No, that's
about.
The thing.
Yeah.
It's still a good video. And I liked the level of effort that he put into it with all the animation and stuff. I respect it. I knew it was going to be a good video. But like I said, so much SpongeBob, so much stuff that's been threaded. Like when I first discovered Blazing Dragons, like I'm trying to remember how I even discovered it. How did I discover it?
No, I mean it's kind of like how I was with whenever people are like, "Oh, what's an obscure game that you would really want to see like people play more?" And I would like immediately blurt out Klonoa 2.
Yeah. Like, for me it might be something like, hey, you like XCOM? Try Abomination. it's kind of like it, but it's like weird and it's got flesh horrors and body horror and shit. It's I do
like the flesh horror. Who doesn't like the flesh horror? Honestly,
game, but here's the thing: if you want something that's XCOM like, but different enough, I cannot emphasize this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the reason why this makes me so mad is because I grew up with the likes of Screw Attack, and I've learned about a lot of games that I wouldn't have otherwise thanks to them. But as time went on, I noticed that a lot of even this same goes with AVGN. I would give him the same criticism nowadays. You've treaded this water the same as everybody else has. This game has been covered. And unless you found something extra to contribute, I would not make this as my next pick. And I still love AVGN stuff, even though they're not as what I feel like they used to be.
Well,
I still like his stuff.
A big reason why he's not what he used to be is because he's a dad now. He's got a married life.
I get it. No. I get that.
He's
aware.
So he's outsourcing a lot of his scripts to like third-party aggregates to be able to keep his content flowing.
Like
I don't hold that too much against him, but I would prefer him to talk about the things that he likes rather than
that's what I want from him. That's when he's the best, when he's passionate about it.
I am going to say, I am actually going to push back about a little bit more on your core premise, though. Just as a streamer, I am far from the first person to play Final Fantasy VI, but playing and streaming it and showing my experience with it, me crying on stream and sharing how this has impacted my life, is still a unique story because it's me telling it. Even though everything has been said about the game, it's still,
So I actually wanted to say this, and I kind of did say this, but when I said the SpongeBob thing, I still watch these videos that have covered this ground. Mm-hmm. It's just that I want to see, even if it's every third video, something that people have not. I think at some point, who was it? Peanut Butter Gamer, maybe? He covered something like a strategy game, Lords of the Realm, which caught me off kilter because he mostly makes like Nintendo stuff or whatever. It might have been somebody else.
It was Pro Jared, Lords the Fallen, I think. Wasn't it?
No. This was like. Okay. This is one of the guys from Normal Boots, I'm pretty sure. And like I said, I just saw the fact that he had a video on Lords of the Realm, and I was like, wait, this doesn't match this guy. And honestly, I personally believe that someone has interacted, like most people in their childhood, have at some point interacted with a strategy game. It's not their favorite genre, but I do feel like someone has found one game of that ilk that they like. But regardless.
I had a bit of a weird, now that I think about it, I had a bit of a weird moment in regards to like being able to share and find those kinds of odd things that have been done to death, but are fun to like go with on your own. My roommate watches a lot of Best Friends and Game Grumps and all of those, and that can be challenging to go through games with him because, he plays them in the background and they play fucking everything. But then there's occasions where I will like be very passionate about a game that I didn't think I'd be passionate about. Where last night we just finished all the BioShock games, and we're interested in doing something new. And I went through like a whole list of different games and stuff. We had like some of the go-to ones, like he wanted to show me Spider-Man, and I wanted to show him the Trauma Center games, and so on and so forth. But then I walked back and I'm like, wait a minute, I actually really like this game, even though I shouldn't. And I pull out Final Fantasy X-2.
Okay, I mean,
and I'm like, I look at him and he goes, I say, have you ever seen this game? It's like the Best Friends didn't really go through it, so no. I'm like, I pop it in and I go, I want you to see this opening, and I want you to see how I want to see your reaction to it. And if you don't know anything about Final Fantasy X-2, it is a vast departure from the tone of Final Fantasy X, to the point where you're like, oh shit, I actually can get behind this. This is great.
Wait,
the opening to Final Fantasy X is like,
and sad like Final Fantasy X is?
Like Final Fantasy X, it's like they start off with like, the end of the world and this dramatic thing where, dorky guy narrates at you about how he hates his dad. And then Final Fantasy X-2 opens up and like, so how are we starting this? Oh, look, it's Blitzball. Oh, it's not Blitzball. Oh, it's Yuna. Oh, it's not Yuna. Oh, Yuna has guns now.
and there's some baller J-pop going on. Let's go.
And then the most fucking edgelord ass looking airship comes up, and Riku's brother, sporting his mohawk, is like, I want to see Yuna dance the song. And then Yuna responds in the most anti-Yuna way ever, where she goes, you got money? And he reaches into his pocket and starts genuinely pulling out a checkbook.
I'm gonna be honest. I both despise the Final Fantasy series for just being genuinely fucking confusing to me, because it's like, okay, this is this franchise with this number. Why does nothing look like it makes any sense in relation to the previous game?
The reason why is because when Final Fantasy came into existence, it was going to be their last hurrah. It was Squaresoft's last attempt at making a game, and it was so successful that they go, well, let's make another one. Do we need to be in the same setting? Not really. And so they
need
went
the same
with
name
it.
for
So
marketing.
you got to think of Final Fantasy less like its own, like a cohesive franchise. And you got to start thinking of it like Twilight Zone. There's a couple of things that are in common with it, but like every game is a standalone thing.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that that
What
joins
you
all
need to
Final
do-
Fantasy games. Okay.
Go ahead.
One of the biggest things
Go
that
ahead.
joins all Final Fantasy games is that the more magic there is in the world, the less technology, and the more technology there is, the less permanency there is to magic. And that's just a consistent through line in every single game. The higher the tech, the more magic is ephemeral, fleeting. You can barely grasp a hold of it. It's only a thing you can, like in Final Fantasy 15, you can only get spells temporarily, and they are, you can't actually learn them. Whereas in the medieval settings, people can learn magic innately. And the most interesting ones are where they sort of blend between the two, like 6 and 9.
8? You mean 8?
And 8 as well, actually. Honestly, 8's a better game than people give it credit for.
Yeah, if you want to understand Final Fantasy, play Final Fantasy 8. Because when you go through that and you realize that none of it makes any sense, then you will understand Final Fantasy.
You know what? Sure. But
I want to say this. Big proponent of Final Fantasy 8. Play Final Fantasy 8. It's great.
But
no one should play Final Fantasy 9.
One thing I wanted to bring up with you, GD, is something that the streamer Savitz was mentioning a while back. He's known for Hearthstone. He does Hearthstone streams. Hearthstone is this the game that he plays, and he has several times said that he doesn't really want to play Hearthstone anymore. But he can't change it because his audience doesn't show up when he's playing something else. He doesn't get the numbers he needs to survive on his income when he's not streaming Hearthstone. So you know what he does? He streams Hearthstone. Yeah, and I feel like what you're saying, I too want to see eyes on smaller projects. I want people to learn about these cool and crazy things, but at a certain point, yeah.
Just to be very clear, I at no point want to stop making teen neighborhoods, or at least until we run out of creative energy for them. But what I want to do is make the audience just so I can okay, I want to spend I'm gonna spend this year. I'm gonna make 2 projects, hopefully a Team Neighborhood episode, and one video about this obscure RTS game, or this cartoon, and you ain't gonna stop me. You know what I have hostage? I have one Team Neighborhood. You gotta put up with this.
No, I get that. That's the dream is getting to that point where you can stream what you want and people will show up because it's you. That's kind of what I was alluding to before.
Because that's the thing. I want people. I bond over things let me show you one of the games that's stuck in my brain for the longest fucking time, and it's so obscure. If someone brings it up, it's a victory for this game's existence. Welcome to War Incorporated, the most confusing RTS that you can give let me see, how old was I? A 12-year-old. You essentially have a campaign where you're. By the way, this background here, this is burned into my fucking brain. This office, because you know why? When you hover over shit, it's diegetic. This is all a menu. I love it. We don't have enough of this anymore.
We gotta
Yo!
Alright.
Don't worry, that's the last one that can be ready.
Okay.
Right.
Essentially, as
Dictator,
the name implies.
I have to go.
Okay.
Sorry.
Before
I
you
need
do,
to get going. Finish your
let's at
thought.
least
I've
watch
been
this
trying
together.
to go for the last 10 minutes.
Sorry.
Please. Please.
Bye, Magus.
I've been waiting to bring this up for forever.
Say it.
To have this up. I just want us to watch this
Say it.
together.
Say it.
Yeah, here. I'm playing it.
The animation of how I lost the Kobold.
Oh shit! Hold on, I need to like pull it up. Oh yeah, this thing.
Yeah.
I still have the video on my YouTube of you getting killed by a bunch of dudes in a van.
It was a series of unfortunate
in real
rolls.
life?
No, in his
The
RPG.
TTRPG
die in
talk
real
from
life?
earlier.
He sent me this
No, I
thing as
think
a
he died
gift.
in real
Like,
life.
my God, you had so many people that worked for you died for nothing. That man's the sad thing is that the guy you were attacking, his superpower was that he was Scottish and nothing else.
Okay, but that's pretty
He also
strong.
had.
That is a pretty strong
I
superpower.
still remember the little post-mortem that you made in my head, where it was essentially like he was being interviewed, and because of what happened here, they took away the fucking Big Ben tower. I think we'll see it later here.
May
There he is.
Oh,
I wanna
the
thank you for
Scottish
joining.
Man. Yeah.
yeah. In summary,
I drew it. A fun note: I based the way I drew him and the way I imagined him was literally just the Scottish dude from Freakazoid. That's what I imagined him as.
It's a
Just
shame
straight
that
up.
you can't really show that this isn't really showing up. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
right. I gave the battle mech a kilt. I forgot about that.
This is, by the way, I recreated this as accurately as fucking possible, details and all, because like I just loved how this turned out, even if I did lose my dudes. This is the no subtitle version because I think it might be on something else. I know I put some dialogue in here. I even did like an exterior drawing, like a very I was impressed with myself, kind of a drawing of the exterior of the building. Like. That's the level. This is just the level of effort that I went into this campaign. This is how special. Oh yeah, that's right. We took the fucking bell and used it as cover to get up to the mech.
Yeah, it was a very dumb experience for this, but like I think my favorite bit that we ever got animated or like as an animatic was when I introduced them to a character named Voop.
Oh, I do have that.
Okay.
One. Oh god.
So I'll end my presence here with this story, but it's a good one, I promise.
Okay, no, you don't have to. You don't have to. I can just show it.
Well, we don't act.
I'm
The
not
stream
showing-
people can't.
We
Yeah.
can't show it anyway.
Oh,
GD,
the
we
screen-
show us that later. We're still live at the moment.
All right,
Okay.
so
Okay.
the story was they had to break into this. They had to break into this laboratory, and it was late at night. There was not going to be anybody there. They did not expect to have any security, and the party goes in through the roof and breaks through a window, and the one thing that they find is a lone Mexican janitor. And Dictator tries to intimidate him. And the guy says, "The door is over there if you want to. You could just leave." And Dictator leans in. It's like, "Do you not know who we are? Look at what you're surrounded by. Is there anything that you could possibly do to stop us?" And the janitor raises his finger, points at him, and goes, "Voop." And I delete his character on the Roll20, and everyone goes, "What happened? Where did he go?"
Oh no.
There was no poof. There was no transitional effect. He was just gone. And I go, "Dictator, you feel the sensation of sudden wind rushing, and you look down and you can see the distance, the distant lights of the city that you were just in. You are currently in free fall." And one of the other players, "What?"
Nice.
They teleported him 2 miles above sea level.
I literally just animated it.
And at first, Dictator's like, "It's okay, I can tank it, right?" And someone's like, that's falling damage. You're gonna take like 60 d6 damage. You're not gonna live through that. You're gonna be paced. And it's like, it's fine. I could just go to the water. It's like, the water is as tough as concrete at terminal velocity. And he's like, what if I throw my minions at it?
Brilliant.
I didn't have a lot of.
A funny side thing is that, like, you actually can survive hitting the water at terminal velocity if you break surface tension first.
I mean, you have to remember.
By throwing minions at it.
I think, in Savage World, being undead is a fairly tanky power to get. We had to actually retcon like the amount of power points that like I put into that as a result. Like, it's not impossible that I could have survived it, but I still would have needed to like cushion it somewhat.
Yeah, but honestly, the best part, was at the end where the entire party had to fight that guy and try to keep him distracted long enough so he couldn't teleport them away. And Dictator fell the entire fight.
Yeah.
So that when the fight was over and Voop was done, he walks outside and starts to go home and get in his car. Need I remind you, this man is a super teleporter. Dictator has survived the crash. He's climbing out of the bay, like almost had been killed from the fall damage. And Voop looks at him and goes, "Oh, you didn't die. Bye." And it just gets in his car and leaves.
I didn't shoot at him with the reasoning. My character just being like, he's like in shock, and he's just like. Raised it. This is in the animatic, but he raises his arms in the air like, what did I do to this? What is this? My life? What did I do to deserve this?
Anyway, I do have to get going.
Yeah.
But I had a good time with you folks. And
This was a delight.
I'll see you soon.
I look forward to it.
See you.
I look
Bye-bye.
forward to it again.
Cheers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bye.
Oh god! Every single time we talk, it's been like 2 hours, and it felt like it was 20 minutes. It's not enough.
This was a delight.
Oh, I can actually post the video in the chat because I compressed it to like 11 megabytes somehow. Neat. That ever rarely happens to me.
The entire B movie in one GIF.
I just stream it for the sake of normally, but I'll after the stream's over, I'll show it.
Appreciated.
Yeah, I was just. This campaign was very special to me. I had no less than like 5, maybe 6 animatics that I hyper fixated on making, as well as a ton of art. I've never made this. I don't think I've ever made. I don't think I've ever made this much art for something as I have for this. Because just like yeah, most of them are doodles and like I did them very quickly, but it doesn't change the fact that I wanted it to be very special. Like, I did art for just about everything, not just, like, funny moments that happened. By the way, mind you, this would have been a benefit to a YouTube channel if this was, like, something that was posted videos and then I made animatics for, like, small animations about every single moment kind of stuff.
What I'm doing though, Pedro, I'm doing a hardcore super flat and we're just... Pathfinder was cancelled tonight, so we're just vibing.
Yeah. I'm gonna wrap up my stream here. This was a wonderful time.
This was fun.
Remember...
Wait, why does this guy keep trying to go in there?
Remember, everyone, support indie titles and Guillotine publishers. I think that pretty much covers everything, right? Is that what we...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Good night, friends.
Night-night.
Good night.